Welcome, listeners, to the Lust for Life podcast, where you'll be joining a girl on her journey to discovering the depths of emotional intelligence. This is your host, Tennessee Reed. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a wonderful week. I had a very good week, much better than some of my previous weeks in relation to sleeping. I feel like I slept really well this week, which always makes things easier. So if you want to hear more about that and why I have not been sleeping, you can listen to my last episode. I talked all about it. But yeah, I slept well, I feel good, and I'm overall happy with that aspect of everything. This week, something that I wanted to kind of touch on, and something that I've been thinking about, especially during my workout today, was fueling yourself properly. I always like to say that your mind and your body are connected, because they are. Your brain is an essential part of the functions of your body. Is because of your brain, and your brain ultimately controls every aspect of your body. Your conscious things, such as moving your muscles, but also your subconscious things, such as the function of your organs and urine excretion and balance of electrolytes, whatever it is. There's so many things. But your mind and your body are connected. So as I was doing my workout today, let's backtrack a little bit. Jake and I have decided that we want to train for an Ironman. So we've started training for an Ironman. So for those who are not familiar with an Ironman, it's you swim 2.4 miles, you bike 112 miles, and then you run a marathon, which is 26.2 miles, all at the same time, like back to back. So it's a very long day. It's a very long race, but it's something that we want to do together because we had so much fun training for our ultra marathon that this is something that we wanted to do together for, an Ironman. We get to do it together. We get to train together. We get to make it a whole thing. So we're really excited to be doing that, but you have to spend lots of time training. It's hours and hours and hours a week. I think this week I clocked in at 15 hours of training this week. Like, that's just training. That's not like stretching, recovery, things like that. That's just purely like working out time. So it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of energy. And as I was doing my workout today, which was a longer workout, I biked 71 miles, which took me 4.5 hours. I was on the bike for 4.5 hours. And then right after I got off the bike, I went and ran 8 miles. So it was a big workout day. And as I was on the bike, thinking in my head for how many hours, an interesting thought popped in my head. It is so important to fuel yourself properly. And it's so important to fuel yourself with energy, such as carbs, carbohydrates, sodium, electrolytes, things like that. And I think during my 4.5 hours, I took in 1,000 calories of just basically sugar. And then I took in 350 calories when I was running. So a lot of energy there. That is very different than what I did last week. Last week, I biked 56 miles, and I thought I was going to die at mile 40. My legs were cramping up so bad. My body just felt so horrible. And that was just last week. It's basically the same body, but there was one different factor. I did not feel myself at all, really, for that ride. I think I took in 200 calories, 300, maybe 300 with 200 calories for that whole 56 miles. And this week I took in 8,000. So big difference there. And I also began fueling earlier this week. I began fueling it 30 minutes in, and I fueled every 30 minutes. So big difference there. And so as I was biking today, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better this week. And I'm like, okay, what is the one factor that is different from this week than last week? And that was fueling. And even today, I was going faster than I was last week. My heart rate was lower, and it was freaking hot today. So everything should have been flip-flopped. I should have been way faster last week and slower this week, but it was way opposite because I was fueling my body early and often. So it got me thinking how important it is not only to fuel our bodies properly, to make sure we feel as good as we can and feel it so that we can get the tasks done that we need to at optimal strength and with energy. Because if you're not feeling yourself, you're not being able to get through your day properly. You're not gonna love life because you feel like you're gonna be dragging physically. And so that's one aspect of it. The other aspect is I was thinking how important it is for us to fuel our mind with good words, good books, giving ourselves that spiritual care, giving ourselves that time to reflect, giving ourselves that space to heal, and letting ourselves feel emotions. That is just as important. And a lot of us are starving. A lot of us, our mind is begging us to have that fuel, to have that drive, to have that energy. And it really is not much different from what I felt physically last week on the bike versus today. And what's interesting about that is I was working like in it energy wise and like emotional energy wise. I was working so much harder last week, and the whole bike ride, I'm like, this freaking sucks. I want to get home so bad right now. And today, I felt like I was going through a leisure ride. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, look at the weather, listen to the birds. This is so beautiful. Like, I could do this all day. And like last week, I was like, this is the depths of hell. Like, I need to get home. And so that is the same thing as our minds. It's just not, we don't notice it as much because it's not something physically that we can feel most of the time. We feel it emotionally, which is hard to recognize. But a lot of us are emotionally spending so much energy because we're not emotionally fueling it. If we were to be emotionally fueling it properly, we'd feel less exhausted emotionally, if that makes sense, because I use that comparison of my bike. So really, we're doing more work than we should. And it seems like it's more work to listen to these good words, to listen to these good books, to listen to these talks and these presentations. But if you look at the overall scheme of things, you're actually, in a way, saving energy. You're also giving yourself like happiness and joy when you listen to this stuff. It makes you happier. It makes you look at your life differently. It makes you feel more motivated in a way that you would not have felt if you weren't fueling your mind that way. And ultimately, if you are emotionally healthy or emotionally fueling your body and your mind the way it should be, you're going to be physically performing better too. You're going to feel better physically. Your mind is so connected to your body. And one example of this is if you are emotionally in stress, you are probably shooting cortisol through your body, which kind of just, it exhausts you. It's putting you in that fight or flight mode, that kind of survival mode, which is going to wear on every part of your body. Everything, the way your skin looks, the way your muscles feel, the way that your body looks. You can have kind of a leaky gut. You can retain water, so you look a little bit like, maybe a little bit like swollen in a way that you wouldn't if you didn't have that. So it's really interesting how your mind and your body are so connected. And it's interesting to me that Jake and I are now deciding to do this Ironman, because I don't think I was ready to train for this last year or even before that, because I emotionally wasn't ready. Like, I did not have that emotional intelligence. I didn't have that emotional strength. I didn't know how to emotionally work through those kind of hard physical times and emotional times to the point where I could train so hard for an Ironman. I'm not saying that I wasn't able to do hard things. But I do think that like you have to have that level of emotional intelligence and that mindset. You have to have a really strong mindset to be able to continue to train multiple hours a day, and it takes a lot of time. It takes a toll on you. But to be able to get up every day and be like, okay, let's do it, and like be excited about it, I don't know. It's pretty cool that like I feel like I'm now ready for this. And it's interesting that it came at a time that it did. And even though Jake and I didn't do our ultra marathon because he ended up breaking his foot with a stress fracture from training, actually, but I think that ultra marathon goal was totally meant to be because we kind of fell in love with that like daily grind. We fell in love with being able to get up with each other every day and work out together and kind of like not suffer, but push each other and experience that together, which is, it's pretty cool. I am very grateful for our relationship that we're able to do that, because I don't feel like that. I'm very blessed, because it doesn't happen often that we just click together so well with our personalities, but also Jake and I are like very similar physically. Funny backstory, Jake and I did a mountain bike race. It was a time trial, so we didn't all just race at once. We started at separate times and they just timed us, and then at the end they like compared to the times, and then that's where they kind of gave the awards and stuff. But so Jake and I did not race together, and we ended up finishing like within 5 or 10 seconds the same as each other. And this was like, it was a longer race. Like it was like an hour-long race. So there was plenty of time to like have different times, and we totally finished within 5 to 10 seconds of each other. So we like really do have very similar times when it comes to fitness, which is so awesome because we're able to push each other and we're able to better each other that way and just kind of enjoy working out together. So that's pretty cool. But overall, my message was our mind and our bodies are so connected. And I want to continue to explore this a little more as I am training for this Ironman, and I have plenty of time to reflect and kind of get to know my body. And that's another thing too, is you really get to know your body when you're training this long. Like you really get to know exactly what's best for your body and when. It kind of gives you that unique opportunity to get to know your body that you wouldn't have otherwise. And like a little example of this today was I know exactly what gears I need to be in on my bike and when. And the only way I would have known that is if I've spent hours on the bike. And I have spent hours on the bike, but I truly didn't figure it out until today of what my optimal gears that I should be in and when. I'm really good at that with running. I know my body so well with running because I've been running my whole life, but I haven't been road biking my whole life. And so today I was able to recognize that if I'm constantly pushing on the bike, then my body is expending way too much energy and it's not efficient for me. So that if I'm feeling like I'm just barely pushing on the bike, I need to gear down, just one gear, and then it's perfect. I feel like I'm working with my bike, we're working together, and it's smooth. I feel like I'm gliding. So that's something else that I've like learned about my body. It's so cool to be able to learn that about yourself and kind of where your weak spots are. As I've been training for this Ironman, I realized my back is very weak. I always knew I had a very sensitive back, but now that I've been training so much, I am especially aware of how I need to care for my back and be extra careful about my lifts, and honestly, even down to how I breathe when I swim, because you breathe so many times when you're swimming for so long that even the tiniest little movement can hurt your back. And so it's just cool that I'm able to recognize those tiny little things about my body, when to gear down, how to breathe when I'm swimming, how to fuel my body and when does my body need calories, how many calories does it need, how much sodium does it need, how many carbs does it need, what should I pre-race with or pre-train with, so many things. And I actually didn't even put in headphones today on my ride at all, because sometimes I feel like headphones kind of interfere with your brain, or you learning how your brain and body work when you're exercising. I feel like you just kind of are in grind mode and you just keep going. But today I didn't listen to anything, and I was just like watching and feeling my body, and when I was feeling how to approach this hill, what gear should I be in. And it kind of brought me a level of focus, which is kind of interesting. I never really thought about that. Even when you're lifting in the gym, sometimes music can be distracting, and you're not focused on what muscles are supposed to be involved, or how much to flex your back, or pay attention to not arching your back. So many things that I think we may miss because we have music or we're listening to things. So there is a lot of benefit to not listening to anything when you're exercising. You really, really get to know your body. And I mean, you can compare this to anything, but like, what are the distractions in our life that are keeping us from fueling and listening to our mental health? How are you supposed to listen to your mental health and really get to know your brain and your spirituality when you don't have downtime just to think about it? You don't have downtime just to kind of watch your emotions and examine your emotions and observe them and kind of make those connections of when and where they come and why do they come. And that's something I think I need to work on. Is I love listening to Audible. I love listening to podcasts and things like that. But I also feel like sometimes I just need to take time just to be able to think in my own thoughts and be comfortable in my own thoughts. And I feel like that's another reason why people maybe don't sit in silence, is because sometimes they're unfamiliar with their own mind and it kind of scares them. Because I feel like I used to be that way, and I try to always distract myself and keep myself busy. So there's just so many things of how to properly fuel your body and your mind and your spirituality, and they truly are connected. They really, really are. And that's something that I was just thinking about today, and I wanted to share it, and something that I'm going to continue to work on. I'm definitely not perfect at this, but I mean, acknowledgement is the first step to progress, right? So I'm going to continue to work on this and try to master it a little bit more, and see where it takes me. But I hope that you can take a moment this week and just maybe sit in silence and reflect on your own thoughts, and maybe how you can better fuel your mind and your spirituality, and then watch how it affects your physical body and your physical stamina, and how your muscles feel and how your body looks, because skin really is affected by stress and all that too. So you will see visible differences in your skin. But that's my thought for this week. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I hope you all have a wonderful week full of improvement and fun. I'm going to release this on Tuesday, but I hope you have a wonderful Memorial Day, and we will see you next week.